Have you ever struggled trying to remember dates for a history exam just to notice 15 minutes later that you forgot all of it? If this is how it feels, then stick around because this video will teach you a way to learn and remember things using a technique that takes seconds. Hey YouTube, this is Gustavo from Spot On Uni. Have you ever dreamt of smashing your exams and unlocking your success? If so, you're in the right place. Just subscribe and hit the bell and we'll help you do just that. When I was at school, history was one of the most dreaded topics because there were so many numbers that didn't necessarily make sense or we couldn't necessarily relate to that we had to learn and remember to just regurgitate at exams. When it comes to remembering a string of numbers, there is two main techniques that you can use and harness in a matter of minutes so that you can always remember things for weeks on end. Those are called the major system and the count technique. The count technique is the most straightforward and intuitive method there is. You just encode a number into a word and you recognize what word to use, or you translate a word into a number by its length. So for example, if I want to remember 3, I would take a 3-digit word like the, not, or egg. Using this technique, you could translate number 23 into an egg, an for 2, an egg for 3, 23. And if you happen to have a 0 in the number you need to actually remember, then what you do is that you just use a 10 letters word, because then you think 10 finishes in 0, therefore 0. The other method that you can use is called the major system, and is incredibly popular amongst memory champions because it helps you remember far bigger strings of words than the count system could ever help you do. The way the major system works, in a nutshell, is by encoding numbers into letters or sounds rather than words as the count approach would do. And here is the way the major system works. 0 is Z because 0 starts with a Z, S or soft sh. For number 1, if you look at it, T and D have one vertical stroke, so T and D are 1. If you observe the letter N, you could actually distinguish a 2 inside it, so N is 2. Following the very same logic, M is 3. 4 isn't as straightforward, but there are two ways you could think of it. 4 finishes with R, so 4 is R. Or, if you're a bit creative, you could think that somehow 4 is very similar to a mirrored R. 5 is L, and there are two ways to look at it. The first one is that in Roman numerals, L represented 50. So 50, 5, not that much of a stretch. The other approach that you can have is that L is the shape of your hand when you put your fifth finger aside. L is 5. Number 6 is an upside down lowercase g. Or, if you pay attention, you could actually see a capital G hidden in plain sight into a 6. 6 also stands for J because of the similarity with the sound of the letter G. 7 is translated into K or a hard C because that's exactly what it is. It's two 7s back to back forming the letter K. When you handwrite a lowercase f, it looks very much like an 8, so F is 8. And because the sound of V is very similar to F, you can then use V as well for number 8. And finally, number 9 is the mirror of letter P, that if you rotate also gives you letter B. 9 is P or B. Now, you probably noticed that not all letters are included into the 10-digit system. This is because the additional sounds, such as the vowels, will help you create words with those digits to make them more memorable and more intuitive to remember. For example, using this system, if I wanted to remember number 92, I would think 9 is B or P and 2 is N. So it could be a pin, like a pin code, or it could be a bin, a rubbish bin, or bean from Beans and Sausages. Now let's just apply those methods by learning 3 key dates in British history. Let's start with the 1807 Slave Trade Act. In history, you probably noticed that dates are quite obvious whether they are before or after the year 1000 or the year 2000. So for this purpose, most people would recommend that you just drop the 1, 2 or 0 at the start of the date and just focus on the 3 digits. For this example, 1807 becomes 807. If you try to encode 807 with the count approach, you then need 3 words, one with 8 letters, followed by 10 letters, followed by 7 letters. With those conditions, you could actually create the sentence, achieved contraband freedom. Slavery as contraband, therefore it makes sense to associate that with the Slave Trade Act. If we were instead to use the major system, we would then have 8 for F or V, 0 translated into a Z, an S or soft CH, and then 7 by K or hard C. Using those conditions, you could create the word fiasco, and you could tell yourself it's a fiasco it took so long for such an act to be accepted. For our second example, let's look into the Battle of Waterloo of 1815. 1815 is 815. If we look at the major system, 8 again is F or V, 1 is Z or T, and 5 is translated by L. Because we're talking about war, the most striking and perfect word for that is fatal, because the war was fatal for many people and for Napoleon's ambitions. But if you feel that the count system works better for you, you could then say abdicate a world. Abdicate is 8 digits, A 1 digit, and world is 5. 815, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. And finally, let's look at a major royal event, the coronation of the reigning queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II became the Queen of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth in 1953. 953. If we start with the major system, 9 is B or P, 5 is L, and 3 is M. With those words, you could create a number of combinations. You could, for example, think of plum, and you could imagine the queen on her throne eating a plum. Another word that you can use for 953 is bloom, and you could think of blooming flowers around the cathedral where she was coronated, or in her palace. But for this particular event, the count system is just perfect, because 953 can be encoded into Elizabeth Party Day, her coronation, a great day to celebrate. Elizabeth 9, Party 5, and Day 3, 1953, her coronation, her party day. There you are, you just learned 2 ways to make sense of and remember numbers in just a matter of seconds. Obviously, I'd be lying if I said it was easy to find the right words that helped us encode that information for either systems. So here are 2 fantastic resources that you can use. If you believe that the major system is the right approach for you, then head over to remember.com. Remember.com has a homepage that actually asks you what number you want to remember. So you just input it, click on the button, and it'll give you a massive amount of ideas on how you could actually transform that with the major system into words. Obviously, if the number that you're trying to remember is rather long, try to chunk it into groups of 3 or 4 digits, and then you just create a number of words that together recreate that number that you want to create. If you believe that the count system is the right approach for you, then just go to hugowords.com. Hugo Words is a fantastic resource that helps you find words that fit a number of conditions. If you look on the webpage, you have the length, which is what we're really interested in, but you could also have words that start or finish with a given letter. If you look into length for Hugo Words, you see that it gives you all you need, from 1 to 10 letter long words that give you the digits 1 to 10, and 10 being 0. The reason I recommend Hugo Words instead of Remember for the count system is because what it does is that it ranks the words based on popularity and usage. So you won't have obscure words like abdicate at the top of the list. I use abdicate for Waterloo because it just made sense. But there are many words that are the same length but so much easier for you to use in other contexts. Now it's in your hands. You just learned 2 ridiculously easy techniques for you to learn and remember numbers and dates. So go ahead and apply them. And please let me know in the comments what creation you had. What words or sentences did you come up with for some dates or events or memorable information? Just don't put your credit card number in there, please. But tell us anything that you found really interesting or funny that you created thanks to those techniques. And let's get the sharing going so that we can learn from your creativity as well. And because you've just added 2 techniques to your study toolbox, you're that much closer from smashing your exams and unlocking your success. Hey there! Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to find out about one technique that will give you an unfair advantage on top of everyone else, give you better grades by studying less, you can just follow this URL and I'll teach you exactly how to do it. I'll see you there. Take care.